What is up, all you GBA type people? This is Tom. I'm here bringing you guys my Week 5 team builder for monotooi and the Tampa Bay Luxrays. Now, for you guys who aren't aware, Mono is another division rival, just like Necro, Stevo, and John. Also like John, I have not won a game against him in a very long time. As a matter of fact, he is currently 2-0 with a differential of plus 12 against me, meaning that he has 6-0'd me twice in the past 2 seasons. I'm sure some of you will remember the utter shellacking he gave me last season at the hands of sub-Combine Jirachi, which totally blew back my entire team. It was a complete embarrassment because he and we live about 20 minutes away from each other, so we can reasonably, have the battle, then go see each other and discuss or have the match face-to-face, what have you. And in this case, or in that case I should say, he and I battled in person. That was super embarrassing, just to get absolutely mopped, and and he's sitting there going, "You good?" And I wasn't. So, but this time around, not playing in person, but we do have a bet online like we do every single year. Winner gets food at the courtesy of the other person. So last year he ended up winning, and I got him a burger from Applebee's, but hey, the winner wants what the winner gets, I guess. So this time around, I definitely would like to beat Mono and gain my revenge and exercise my demons that I know I did the same exact thing for John, and I'm super motivated to do so. So we're going to take a look at his team right now, and his team consists of Megazard X, Keldeo, Snorlax, Gliscor, Weavile, Rotom Cut, Rotomo, however you pronounce it, Registeel, Comfey, Slowking, Palisand, and Dragalge, with his Z users being both Rotom and Slowking. Now, overall, when I was mocking for his team and definitely preparing overall for a lot of the situations, the main core mons that seem to be brought almost every single match were definitely Weavile to check things like Komodo, check things like Landorus, to handle a lot of things with its priority. It also handles things like Roserade, obviously super fast, so it outspeeds my fastest mon being Swellow. And then I also saw Snorlax because since I don't have a ghost type, and I know how Mono, how he thinks to an extent, I know that a Curse Return or a Curse Body Slam set are definitely coming. And with that in mind, I could pretty much play it with that, in mind, knowing that thing is definitely going to be there, and I could just plan accordingly. Besides that, I also saw Keldeo in a few of the matches. Keldeo, I think, is threatening if it's a sub-com mind variant. It could also be threatening, because Specs or Scarf. Scarf would be nice because it outpaces Landorus. Specs would be cool because it pounds things like Roserade, especially if he's locked into HP Ice or Icy Wind, even though I'm not really sure Mono wants to take the chance on Icy Wind the same way I don't really want to take the chance on Close Combat with my Komodo. Oh, the other thing that was there too every single time was Gliscor, just because it handled Scissor, it handled Komodo, it handled Physical Swallow to an extent, handled Landorus, and it allowed it to pivot into things like Weavile in the case that Landorus was coming in on something, or was pivoting out, whatever. So definitely the core three that I think are coming are definitely Weavile, Gliscor, and Snorlax. Otherwise, besides that, I had mocks where I saw, like I said, Keldeo, I saw Rotom Cut come as a defogger, as a Volt Switcher, something like that. Registeel was there for rocks because it does take on Scissor relatively nicely. It if it's a Shookaberry set with Ice Punch, it could chew an Earthquake from Landorus, then go for an Ice Punch, get off big damage. Also, it sort of could take on Komodo if it's not set up. I didn't really see Palisand or Comfey or even Dragalge in any of my mocks, so I wasn't really necessarily worried. I know Dragalge can be super powerful in terms of its Dragon Stab and its Poison Stab with adaptability, but I knew kind of how I can take it on. I knew Roserade or perhaps Scissor, Almamola, Diancie can take on a few of those hits based on whatever their investments are going to be and things of that nature. Comfey, I think it's checked heavily by Roserade and Scissor. And then Palisand, I just don't think really has the best matchup this week. Slowking was also there, and so is Megazard X. Now, Slowking and Megazard X are especially... they were brings because I think Megazard X does do a lot of damage to my team based on if Landorus is chipped down, if Diancie is chipped down. It could obviously take priority from Scissor. If it gets to +1, it outspeeds, a non-scarfed Swellow. It outspeeds Mega Houndoom, and it can certainly be a really big problem if it is a bulkier set. Knowing Mono, I know he probably will have it to outpace, especially Landorus. But looking at his team from what I expect I do believe he's going to bring the core 3 like I had said, Snorlax, Gliscor, Weavile. I think some sort of variant between like Keldeo, Megazord X, Rotom Cut, Registeel, Slowking are going to come. I don't necessarily expect Comfey or Palisand, even Dragalge to an extent, because I can't even like Toxic Spike because I do have Roserade. And just, you know, I could see those 3 with the other mixture of 3 being the mons that I had suggested that I saw in a mock or 2. So I think it'll be a bigger problem if he brings like Zardex with Slowking. But Registeel can be nice to get his rocks up because it does affect my team pretty well. Keldeo is nice because it can outspeed and hit most of my mons super effectively if something like Roserade or Alomola chip down. And yeah, that's how I see it. We're going to go into my team now. My team this week is going to be Landorus with a Flying EMZ. It is going to be a Komodo with a Habanberry. It is going to be a Choice Band and Scissor. It's going to be a Black Sludge Roserade, a Mystery Item DNC, and of course Mega Houndoom. So this week, the way that I was looking at it, it wasn't quite pivot happy, but in my mocks I was noticing one key thing. Zardex doesn't have a lot of opportunities to set up, so to say. There are a few things it can set up on, but for the most part, if I can kind of get hazards up, getting hazards up is going to be the main motif of this build this week, just to ensure that I could pressure a lot of his things through hazards. Things like Weavile, things like Megazord X if it's not megaed up already, things Rotom doesn't necessarily want to take rocks coming in and out. Snorlax doesn't like spikes. Keldeo, you get the idea. If I get hazards up and I can keep them up, this ensures that things that are tempted to sweep don't necessarily have that opportunity, and if they do, for the most part, they're going to be more pressured into recovering or ensuring that they could potentially revenge or get damage off before they get chipped down based on my team overall. So first we're going to go into Landorus. Landorus is going to be, like I said, a Fly Name Z set. It's going to have U-Turn, Earthquake, Fly, and Swords Dance. Landorus this week is fast enough to creep a Rotom Cut, being base 86. And of course, it is also bulky enough to take 2 Zardex Flare Blitzes after 2 Stealth Rock switch-ins. Obviously, a lot of his team doesn't necessarily appreciate, Fly or Earthquake, and of course U-Turn is there to pivot out. If he is Sugarberry, Registeel like I expect, I am going to be doing a lot of pivoting to ensure I see if it has leftovers or not, because if it doesn't, I always expect Berry at this point, and if it does have leftovers, obviously I can just go for Earthquake and get off big damage and ensure that if I don't see, like, Slowking or Rotom, Earthquake becomes relatively free. And then if I do see something that resists Earthquake or resists... or I could threaten something out with an Earthquake, I should be saying, I could obviously pivot out and ensure momentum stays in my favor. Something like Glitchxcity is going to be a little bit of a problem for this, even something like Scarf Rotom, but that's kind of what the point of pivoting around is, to see what kind of draws in the matchup when Lando is out. And then obviously once I get up hazards, this thing is going to be a really, really big problem to his team overall. Next we're going to go into Komodo. This is going to be a Habanberry Lure set. This thing is going to be very bulky with a lot of attack and speed. This can outspeed, I believe, Weavile after +1 from the Dragon Dance. And the bottom line about this is that if he doesn't bring Comfey or Slowking, this thing just goes fucking into his team. Because Comfey, obviously with its just stab, just pretty much annihilates this Komodo, and then Slowking is bulky enough that I can pretty much chew a lot of the hits this thing is going to have. This thing is going to be carrying Dragon Dance, Drain Punch, not Close Combat, because I learned my lessons last week, Ice Punch, and what was the last move? Dragon Claw. So it's nice because if I'm at +1, I outspeed max speed Weavile. If I get to +2, I outspeed a +1 Zard and also a Scarf Keldeo, and especially if Keldeo is creeping for Cryogonal. And then the bulk allows me to live a +1 Adamant Dragon Claw after the Bonberry, and then even after 2 Rock Switch-ins, and then of course I could also live a 1 Life Orb Jolly Ice Shard from Weavile, and then if I go right for the Drain Punch, get pretty much a good chunk of my HP back to allow me to live other hits moving forward. Now, other ideas that went into this were things like perhaps the Yachi Berry, but overall, I felt like a bomb was nice in the case of Zardex did come. This thing is going to be an excellent mon to lure, I guess, Zardex. It allows me to capitalize on some certain matchup, whether it's like Gliscor or Registeel. I can obviously take an ice move, whether it's Ice Fang or Ice Punch, and then I can start setting up. And then once I get to +1, Mono it starts doing the thing that I did when I was seeing Jirachi. Oh shit, what do I do now? that is kind of the goal with this Komo'o, and I really hope it pans out, because Komo'o, I would like it to redeem itself from last week, where it kind of fell short in the long haul because of the fact that I did not have Drain Punch over close combat. So I would like to redeem itself this week, and that's kind of the plan. Choice Band and Scissor, dual stab, coverage. Not going to explain what the coverage was, but dual stab obviously is nice. Bullet Punch can pretty much pick off a lot of the problems when Glitchxcity is gone. I have U-turn for pivot. You know, he has things that resist a good amount of Scissor's move pool, but I mean, when it's a banded U-turn, like Registeel's not going to appreciate that. If Slow King's in, I could just U-turn out, and it obviously is going to threaten it out because Slow King is not slow bro. If he tries to bring in Glitchxcity, allows him to pivot out into something, even though it's a resisted hit. If he has Keldeo in, you get the point. Basically, Scissor's nice for pivot, and it's good for coverage, and it's good for bullet punching. You know, the priority is really nice for... Oh, it's also my Weavile check. There it is. If Weavile's in and it's causing a problem, bullet punch just threatens it out 10 times out of 10. Then we have Roserade. Now, Roserade is going to be my pretty much my Keldeo check, especially if it is like a choice set. If it's Scarfed, if it's Specs, I mean, Roserade's going to do a relatively good job at checking it, because it is going to be a bulky, more Spadef set, because just, like I said, Keldeo is somewhat of a problem. If it's sort of a setup set, yeah, it could get a little bit out of hand, but the nice thing is that Roserade is what is going to be my lead every single time, for every single, you know, in every single one of my mocks is what I was leading with, because the main objective here is spikes. Get spikes up. That's exactly what Roserade does. It has spikes, it has synthesis, and it has dual stab. Now, you know, the Giga Drain is there for Keldeo. It's there for things something like Weavile. And then Sludge Bomb is there for things like Rotom Cut. It's also there to, you know, pick off, potentially get, you know, little poisons, things like Comfey or Slow King. Obviously, you know, Dragalge is going to resist both, but the thing is, like, if I'm leading with this and he comes in with Dragalge, if he brings it, I'm just going to be setting up spikes regardless, because I know I'm Spadef enough to see if he's defensive or offensive. If he's running T-spikes off his own, I can obviously absorb them on a switch out, and I have enough things that are kind of levitating that don't necessarily are worried about T-spikes, you know, assuming I don't bring in something stupid to get toxic before I can remove them myself. The other nice thing about Roserade this week is that it pretty much hard counters any of his primary defoggers. It is slower than Glitchxcity to ensure that it can't just roost up on me, and that allows me to pretty much... if it tries to roost when it's low, even with the Toxic Orb healing, Giga Drain becomes super effective. So it's not like he can just constantly just get ahead of me and ensure that he lives the hits that the Giga Drains I'm trying to, you know, obviously chip him down with. So I hope this Roserade can do pretty much what I set it out to do: get spikes up, pressure his defoggers, and ensure that I could just get hazards up early to then chip out the rest of his team to facilitate the sweep for Komo'o, or get big damage off with Landorus, Scissor, and then Houndoom, which I'll explain in a second. Next up, we have a Diancie. Its item was never shown, but this is going to be my main Zard X check. This is going to be running pretty much like dual stab, stealth rock, and that's pretty much it. Obviously, that's what Diancie does. Diancie's been my check for a lot of problem mons these past few weeks. That's pretty much all it is. I mean, obviously, I don't rely on Diancie to get sweeps. I'm not going to put Rock Polish on it unless the matchup entails it, but overall it is nice to get hazards up. It's nice to just threaten things out with its dual stab, and unlike a lot of other fairies that I find are kind of useless, that are probably left out in the free agency pool, I feel like Diancie can kind of hold its own just because of its dual stab and because of its potential to chip away at things and have the stat line to ensure it gets off necessary damage if needed. And then finally, we have Mega Houndoom. Now, Mega Houndoom this week is running its dual stab plus coverage. And the nice thing about Houndoom is just that it can speed creep not Scarf Keldeo, I should say. So it can outspeed that. It's not going to be able to do a lot of damage. It's also going to be a really nice set just for like utility. Mega Houndoom is also running Taunt this week and can shut down problems, whether it's like, you know, Setup Zard or it's Curse Lax, anything like that. And pretty much I could force whatever it is that's trying to set up, that's trying to go for a non-attacking move to stop, which then could allow something else to revenge kill it, or Houndoom can get off damage against it. And then finally, it can live a banded, Jolly, Weavile's low kick after rocks, which is nice, which allows me then to flamethrower it if he wants to stay in. So that is the entire team. It's kind of in-depth, not too in-depth. I don't want to go into any of the EV spreads or any of the moves that weren't necessarily shown, even though most of them were. All mons touch the field. All mons do a very good job, and I hope that you guys enjoy the match tomorrow. Fun fact, he and I will be doing a live comm with each other, and that should be interesting like we did last year. I am going to be hanging out with him when we record, and we'll see who gets dinner. But with that in mind, we are going to see you all tomorrow, and I hope you guys enjoy the dual com. I know I will, because I got to hang out with him and just have fun recording our match together just like last year. So until then, I will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Bye.